Hello everyone, you are welcome to the new edition of CBS Free Skill Acquisition Program. I'm Lady T. I'm taking you on fashion designing. Guys, in our class today, we are going to teach skirt, straight skirts, skirt with yoke, 6 pieces, top with apron, and gown with shape. Now we are going to take a measurement of a gown. The first thing we are going to do, the length of the gown. The second, we call it back or shoulder. And when you are taking the measurement of the shoulder, you make sure the taper is on the shoulder, not down, on the shoulder. This is the shoulder. The next thing, the bust. Then do this. The waist. The waist. You don't let the waist to be too tight. Then the hips point should be on the hips here. Or you do it like this. If you know you'll be confused, do it like this. You get your hips point. 20. And your round sleeve. And the sleeve. You may do it long sleeve or short sleeve. You measure this place too. Call it round sleeve too. That's all. Then the second one, we want to measure skirts. That's straight skirts. You put the tape rule at the waist and you tell the person to stand very well. You are measuring straight skirts. And the waist. Here is your waist for the skirt, not here. Here is your waist for the skirt. Release your body. Okay. Then the hips. Here is the hips. Not here. Here. You put it on the hips. Then there's something we measure from here for the darts, the skirt. Seven. That's where the hips is. Now we are going to take a top with pepper. The first thing, the length. The shoulder or the back, and the bust. half length. We are cutting pepron, half length. Half length is 16. There's no need to measure the hips because it's pepron that will be there. And the waist. The sleeve. 10. And the round sleeve. The armhole. Armhole. The armhole. And that's all for the measurement. We go straight to the sewing. Now we are going to start to cut first the straight skirt. You fold it into two. The measurement of the skirt is 25. So instead of taking the 25 like this, you push your tape rule up. The 2 inches you put out is for the band. Then you mark 25. Then 1 inches or 1.5 inches for the allowance of the bending for the skirts. That's the down of the skirts. Then the hips is 40. That's why I explain how we are going to use tape rule. The hips is 40. Then the 40 you divide it into 4. That's 10, 10, 10. Then you now measure 10. Then remember that you have to put allowance for the skirt when you are sewing. Then you can put 1 inches. Then now after measuring, now you are going to measure 11. Then the 1 inches will be for the allowance. We are cutting the front. Now we want to cut the back. You know, we have put 1 allowance for the skirt. Then the back, the size zip, we are going to put 2 inches. That's for the zip as we are cutting the back. You place your cloth on it, the front on the back. Then you now measure 2 inches for the allowance for the zips of the back. You measure your 2 inches, you mark it, 2 inches, you mark it, 2 inches, you mark it. After you have already cut the back and the front out, you now start your measurement so that you can get the allowance and the shape. The waist is 30. Then 30, we divide it into 4, give you 7.5. You measure the 7.5 like this. Then the allowance 1.5 inch. When I was taking the measurement, I measured 9. That's for the hips. For you to get your hips. You first of all rule everything out before cutting. That's the hips. Then the hips is 40. Measure it. We are cutting pencil skirts, so there's a way your pencil, when you see the drawing, you see how the pencil skirt is. Then the down here, when you get to the down here, instead of you measuring 10, you take 9.5, so that you can be able to shape. There is something. Then your dart. Since the waist is 30, is small, then you can take 3.5. Then the allowance that is here, the here now is 1.5. When you now take your dart, you take the front, the back, and the back on half inches. Everything will come. It will remain that 1 inches you want. Then you cut. You now give the skirt shape. As you see that now that the allowance is there, after sewing you get your allowance. You have put in the shock and I've showed you how it goes. This one is 1.5 here. Why this one is 1 inch? When you take your dart, this one will comes to 1 inch. After you take your dart, half inch. Then when sewing, you start measuring here 4. You can take it now if you want to. You take it now, or when sewing you measure everything to be easier. You remember we push 2 inches out for the band, then 2 inches here for the bending. Now we have cut the straight skirts. Then you now cut the band. The waist is 30. You make it 32, because when you are sewing you are going to overlap it. That's the allowance. This is 2.5. Allowance is there because you are going to sew half inch in two sides. Half inch is going to the two sides. This is the band, and I cut 2.5. When sewing, 1/2 inch we go inside to this side, then 1/2 inch we go in to this side, then it remains 2 inches. Now we are going to cut skirts with yoke. This is Ankara. When you want to cut any Ankara, you look at the design, the way they design the cloth before you cut. Not that you just cut material anyhow. You look at how the cloth is designed. There is some cloth that is not like this, that has design. You look at it the way you take it. Like this one now is 2 ways. You can take it down or you take it straight like this. If you can make it straight like this. It will follow the stripe, go down, or like this. Because this one has a different part, it has pattern down, so you have to take it like this, so that this pattern will be at the down of the skirt. Then when you are cutting only skirt yoke, this one will be at the down, then the yoke will be up on top of the skirts. There's no difference between what I've just cut now. The hips is 40, the waist is 30, the length is 25. So there's no difference. We want to cut this one with yoke. The difference is that the length is 25. We have already pushed 2 inches out. Instead of cutting, saying that you want to put an allowance, you will not cut 25. You either take 5 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. The length is 25. Then you have taken 5 inch out. So now you are going to cut you are going to cut 23. Okay, you are going to cut 19, not 23. You are going to cut 19. Let me explain again. The full length of the skirt is 25, and when immediately you put your tape rule on the material, you push 2 inches out for the band, and this is the length of the skirt. No need of putting allowance because of the yoke that you are going to put. Then you measure 5 out of the 25, then it will give you, the remaining will give you 19. This is 19. Then instead of cutting 19, you cut 20. The reason why is that you are going to sew 1/2 inches to join the yoke, 1/2 inches to join the band. Then you now take your measurements 11. This is the front. Now we are going to cut the back. Remember your zip allowance 2 inches. You divide it into 2. Then you use your ruler. The first one I cut, I did not explain this because I'm going to cut another one. Now, the zip. Any zip we buy is 9. There's some 9 and some is 8. So, you mark the zip side 6. Like the other one now, you have to measure 9 for the down of this. But this one, there's no need of measuring the zip because there will be yoke at the down. So when we are sewing, we are going to close everything apart from the zip line that you give the space. Now we are going to shape. The waist is starting 7.5. Then you give 1.5. It's 30. 7.5. Then 1.5 for allowance. I've explained the other time. The dart 3.5. You measure the dart. You cut it like this. This 1.5 here. When you now take the half inch out of this 1.5, you get your remaining allowance there. Then the 9 inches, the same thing you are going to do. The 9 inches is for the hips, or it depends on how you take the measurement, or 8. Anywhere you measure from back here to the hips, then you measure your hips 10. Then the down here too, you are going to shape it because of the apron. He has to give you fitting at the down. Measure 9 or 9.5 to give you fitting. Then you cut it out. You see how the shape goes, because the yoke that is going to be has to give you the fitting when you wear the skirts. As I'm explaining the first one, I said that you have to put the allowance to open the down so that when you are walking, you can be able to walk very well. So you can measure 9 because 2 inches is already going to be bent. And out of these 2 inches, you are still going to take half inches to join the band. So then the zip. Now you want to cut the yolk. You fold it into 4 because the yolk has to be full. You fold it into 4. Like this. I've said this design has to be down, then the yolk will be there because the cloth has its own design already. So you now get your measurements of this place. You get the measurement because this one you are not going to join it. Everything will be there. Will be already formed the yolk. We start with 2 inches. 2 inches. 2 inches. You now measure it. It's not enough. Put it again. You circle it. Yes. We have gotten what we want. Now the remaining 5 inches, you now take it from here. Now this is 6 inches and we need 5 inches. Remember, you are going to bend it, so you take the 6 inches out. With the bending, folding of the down, with this you are going to join this with this 1/2 inch, folding of the down 1/2 inch. So the remaining will be 5 inches. This is how it's going to be. This is the yolk. This is the yolk at the down. Now we are going to cut top with pepper. This one too have design, but there's nothing you can do because the design is equal. So you can cut it in any way. The top, I've already told you that there's no need of taking hips measurement because we are going to put pepper, so it's only the half length. The half length you are going to take the measurement. You take the measurement of the half length the half length is 16, but instead of taking 16 you measure 17. The reason is that you are going to sew half inches. Like this white now is going to go inside the pepron, and this one is going to go inside the shoulder, so half inch is already out. The bust too is 40. You put your allowance. Some will say put 2 inches allowance because maybe I'm going to increase. Anything your customer say you should do, you have to do it, because customer is always right. It's 11. This is the front, the half length of the cloth, because pepron is going to be here. We are going to cut the back now. Don't forget your zip allowance, 2 inches. Unless if you want to manage the cloth, then you can put 1.5 or 1 inches. That means if you want to manage the cloth. But normal measurement for the allowance of the zip is 2 inches. Fold it inside, then you place the front on top. Now you want to cut the body out. We are cutting round neck. We have round neck, we have U neck, so I'm cutting U neck. 3.5, 5. This is U neck. When we are talking of round neck, this is round neck, but U neck must form U. This is U neck. And this round neck, the difference is clear. This is round neck, while this is U neck. Then the back is 14. That's 7. You will not cut 7 because you are going to join. Let me measure it. When you are sewing, you are going to sew half. You are sewing something here, you are sewing something here, so you make it 7.5 or 8. Better make it 8, so that the half inches will go into two sides. Then the armhole is 20. You first of all do it like this. For the beginner, you measure it 4 corners like this. before you now shape it like this. You now put your, see that it's not yet to okay, 18, it's not yet 18. You bring your tape rule down, you reshape. You now take the tape rule. Allowance is there. Take the shape, the tape rule. Now you are going to get your measurement, exactly measurements you want there. Then you now take the bust here, 10. This is your allowance. Then the waist, 38. You divide it into 2. You divide it into 2 like this. Then it give you 9.5. It give you 9.5. You know that it's only 1 inches we need here. Now this one now you see is 2 inches. It's more than 1.5 inches, because we are going to take that here. We measure 4. You notch it. When you now take all the darts, half inch, you will get the remaining of 1 inches here. You give it shape. This is what then the dart, 4 inches, 3.5. It depends how you want it. Now the back, 3.5. You now measure the 3.5. Some people, they want the back of their cloth, their material to go. Some say you should do it 5. But normal neck is just 2.5. 2. This is 2.5 or 2. Some even want it higher, like this. But the normal some is 2.5. But some will say you can open it like this. But make sure that your neck, you get that. Some want it like this, when the back will be lower and the front will be higher. Some want it like that. So we are going to cut. Then the shoulder, you slanting it. You have to slant this shoulder to make it like this. You have to slant the shoulder. So the length of the blouse is 25. Since the length of the blouse is 25, you will not put your 25 on this white, because you are going to put the apron. You are going to put the apron. So you put your tape rule on this black here, because this one is going to be on the apron. So now we are going to cut the apron. Now you cut 10 inches. Don't cut 9. because the apron we are going to join to the white here, and the down too we are going to, either when you are putting lining and you don't want the lining to show, you are going to put at least 1 inches inside so that the lining will not show. So you cut 10 inches for the apron. Then when you are now cutting the apron, the dart, you have to know that offward. Then after taking the dart, you will know how many that remains. This is 9.5. But you not cut 9.5 because you are going to put zip at the back. So when you are cutting the apron, you put the allowance of the zip. Then you cut 12 when you are cutting the apron. You can notch this place too. And again, I have to explain this place. Some of us, when you are cutting, you will not fold this place like this so that everything will rhyme together. Some will open it like this and cut the back. But when sewing, it will give some people some stress, because instead of this thing now to go equal with this, it will not go. The material will now come and stay like this instead of going like this to rhyme. So when you are cutting the zip at the back, you make sure you fold it so that when putting lining, when sewing everything will rhyme with the back like this. So want to cut the apron now. You fold the apron into 4. Fold it into 4. This 12 inches we need, that's 6. Start with 4. First of all, do it like this. You measure 4 so that you can understand fast. 4. You cuff it. Now this 6.5. It's not up to what, when you divide it, you see that it's not up to what you want. You see, it's still small. So you now you shift the tape rule, you measure it. 6. The allowance of the zip is there. You fold it. Now measure it. It's not even yet what you want. You push it back again. Make it, let us try 6.5 again. Yes, you are getting what you want now. You put your tape rule. You roll it, and get what you want. 12. The allowance of the zip is there. Then now the apron, we are going to cut 10 instead of 9. You now put the tape rule here at this side. You start to measure your 10. Now cut it out. Then you cut this. Here is it. So you are going to divide it. Some of us, we divide it here, or they fold it like this and take one out of it and divide it like this. Not the two, just one. So this is the prepper. The sewing allowance is there. You can give it notion. You see, with the sewing allowance, everything is there. You are going to join this one here, you are going to fold this one here, you are going to join. So half inch has to be there. So we have finished cutting the top with a paper. Now we want to cut dress, that's the gown. The reason why I bought this material is that for the pattern, because all the one we are sewing, their pattern are different. Like this one now has pattern. Now there's no how you want to cut. You now do the flower like this. This is upside down. When you are cutting, the flower has to stand like this. This is how the flower is going to stand. It's going to stand like this. When cutting, you will make it like this. Has to go down like this. This flower has to face up. Then this one will go down. This one will go face up. Not that when you want to cut, you will now say you now cut the neck like this. Then this one will not cut. No. Has to stand like this. The flower, that's why any material, follow the design, follow how the flower is. This thing has to go up. The flower has to go up like this, not upside down. Then you look the back and the front. I just show you this because all the material we are cutting, there's no much flower or design there, but I don't want to cut this material for the gown, but to show you if you have any pattern of material material customer bring for you, make sure you look at the design, how the design stands, not to turn it upside down. When you look at this one too, there's pattern. Let me show you. Look at this one now goes like this. Why this one goes like this? So when you are cutting now, you have to turn it like this. You have to turn it like this, so that this center, this will come up here. Look at this one too, come up here. This one too is up there. So you make sure all the ball go up. Look at this one too, come up like this. You now fold it. You make sure you look at the back and the front, and where you can get it is through the edges. Like this one now is variable high target, variable high target. Get your front and the back there, and you know that when you start cutting you'll be confused. You just use a chalk to mark it. Mark everywhere, so that you will not be confused when cutting. Then when you start sewing, then you now turn the back, front, back. So we are going to cut dress now, gown. The length is 38. The length of the gown is 38. The length of the gown 38. Then you make it 40. Or you even make it 40 and a half. That half you are using it to sew the shoulder. Then the 2 inches you want to bend is already there. Then the half inches has to go up here when you are joining. We don't have to forget that anything you are cutting, make sure half inches for the sewing has to be there. Then the hips is 38. 38, you divide it into 4, give you 9.5. Then instead of you cutting 9.5, you put allowance. You can put allowance of 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inches. Make sure that any cloth you sew, let allowance be inside that cloth. So now 9.5, I'm cutting 11.5 out. So almost 2 inches allowance inside. Just make sure. This is the front. Now we are going to cut the back. The back has 2 inches again for the zip allowance. You place it on top. There is some gown you sew. Some of the gown you open it, some of the gown you overlap. Any gown you overlap, you have to make the allowance to be much so that you can be able to overlap it. Like this one now, I'm going to overlap. I'm not going to open it. If it's not open, you can just put 1 inches or 1.5 inches. When you divide it into 2, remember that I said any material you want to cut that has zip at the back, make sure you fold it. That's must. You must fold it so that you will get what you want. To not be stressing you. You fold it. Now you want to cut the neck. Now we are going to cut round neck. It's you that will look at that person. If he's fat, if he's slim, then you use that to get how the neck will be. The back, you start 7.5. You will not cut 7.5. 28. Back is 28. Is folding into 4. You get 7. 28. The back is 28. The 28 you fold it into 4. Like this, you get 7. This 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7, 7, 7, 7. You fold it into 2. Then inside of, you now put 1 inches for the sewing allowance, the 2 side. Then you go to half length. The half length is 15. You first of all measure everything out before you start cutting. Half length is 15. Then the hips point is 20. This is where you are going to get your hips. 20. Let me cut out the neck. This round neck. Then the sleeve, the armhole. The armhole is 18. So you have to make it easier for you, just do this 4 corner. Now cuff it. You see, allowance is there. This is the allowance, so you know that this is your armhole, because you are going to join out of this. Then the allowance is there. You get your armhole here. Then the bust, you get your bust. Bust is 38. This is your waist. That's the half length. 15. This is your waist. $32. When the leaves fold, you have to follow the shape. Now, you see how this one looks like. Goes like this. Then you get your shape from here. Then here, you are going to take that. You are going to take that, because you see that this piece is small. You are going to take that. Then when you now take your that, it will now form like this. So that now the allowance now is equal, because this 1.5 inches now is going to be 4 places inside the that. So everything, this 1.5 inches is going inside. So then the allowance will now run, then the shape will come out. So then the up, I said you are going to slant. You slant the up. The back. What you measure at the front, that's what you're going to measure at the back. 2.5. Can notch this place. That's if you want. It's not must. If you want, you can notch this place. It's when you are now sewing, you take the dart, everything will run. Then the back you overlap, then you know what you want to, because 2 inches is already bent. Then you can open like 7 inches so that it will not go up too much. You open like 7 inches, bend it. So we want to cut the sleeve. The sleeve, the length is 10, make it 12. You are going to fold. Then the armhole, nobody is putting plinting again. Nobody putting plinting, it's normal sleeve. See, allowance is there. Then you have to shape it. And one thing in this sleeve, before you can shape it down, you make sure you fold the 2 inches you want to put inside. Make sure it's fold. If you do not fold it and you just cut it like that, when you now turn it like this one will go like this, it will not be equal. But when you fold it, it will be equal. When you want to bend, it will be easier for you to bend. Look at it now, it's fold. But when you do not fold it, you just do it like this and you now cut, it will look somehow. But when you fold it before you cut it, it will give you shape. Allowance is there, everything is there. Your armhole is there, allowance is there. And this place now, your armhole is, and the round sleeve is there, allowance is there, everything. It depends on how you want it to be. That's all. We are finished cutting. Now we are going to sew. Now we want to start sewing. I'm sewing the top with pepper. Now I'm putting the face of the neck. The facing of the neck. When you sew it, to the turning to be easier, you notch it. And the turning will be easier. So, you see that after I've already sewed the neck, I stitch it to make the sewing easier. I have to top stitch so that it will stay, because not everybody has light 24 hours. So you now have to top stitch so that it will stay very well. I'm putting facing, not lining. You now bend the lining inside so that if you want to do hemming, I'm sewing the front, then you take your darts, you measure it 4 inches, and when taking the dart, you have to slant it. The slanting has to be sharp, very sharp. Now this is the front. And the back. There is where we are going to put your facing, because it's not lining, there is no time. So After sewing, you notch it. You notch small like this, so it will be easier to turn. And it bends. I'm bending the facing. You have to bend it, everything. Now you are joining the front and the back together. Place this like this and put it together. To be equal, anything the shoulder, you must make sure it's equal. One should not go out. It has to be equal. The two, the front and the back, has to be equal. Now shape both the two sides. We are going to take the measurement and shape it now. take the dart of the back too. The back dart has to be longer than the front dart. This one is 8.5. So the back dart has to be longer than the front darts. Now shape it. Say the measurement is 40, so that's the allowance. That's 40. 2 and 2 is 40. Then the waist. The waist is 38. You see it now. We have finished sewing the body, and the allowance is there for the two sides. Now I'm going to put the pepper I'm going to join the pepper. Any pepper you cut that is excess, you turn it to style. finish joining the body and the apron, the body. Now I'm going to put zip. Now we are putting our zip. We are about to finish. You make sure the needle is on the cloth. You raise up the tension, the back, and shift the zip inside. Then you bring out the back to you overlap the zip. You make sure the joining of the half length is is equal. Don't let one go down or one go front. You make sure the joining is equal of the half length. Has to be equal. When you're about to get to the end of the up zip, you raise up the needle too and put the zip down and fold it, because there is no lining. There is no lining there. Everything has to be equal. Now we are finished showing our apron. Now I'm going to put the sleeve. The sleeve will be 2-step. The sleeve of the apron will be 2-step. To flay hand 2-step. Now I'm going to fix the sleeve to bring the beauty of the blouse out. When you want to fix the sleeve, you put the sleeve inside on top of the blouse. Putting the second sleeve. Yes, the top, the apron top is ready now. You can now see this is the apron top, the two-step tool, the hand tool is apron. Now we are going to sew skirts with straight down. That so has to be sharp. want to shape the skirt, you shape the skirts from the back, not the front. Open the center of the zip. Join the two together. Now shape it. The waist is straight. Then the 9 inches. But this the hips. 8. The allowance is showing. Now cuff it up. So and so. You cuff it. This is 9. So be shape. Shape this one too. finish the skirts with the yoke down, I'm going to put the zip now and the band. You see the way I designed the down of the skirt, I make it 2 steps. You can make it 3 and short skirt, so the design will be there in the next one. Now I'm going to put the skirt and the zip and the band now. Let the zip it at the edge. The material will be at the edge. I'm cutting the band. Join the zip. You make sure the zip is at the edge. The material is at the edge of the zip. And make sure it meets. When you are about to finish sewing the first side of the zip, you raise up the needle and push the zip up. Then you can be able to your sewing. This is up again. Then you now lay the second side on it. Is close. Same thing when it's about to go up to finish the sewing of the zip. Raise the needle up and push the zip down. Then you now finish your sewing. See how it is? This is how it should be. Now I'm going to put the band. sure that the band when you are cutting it is straight. When there is no iron, use your finger. Easier. Start putting the band, and where there's no gum stain, you start putting it from inside so that you turn it outside like this, so that the band that has the place that has gum stain will be outside, so you put it inside. band together. Now stitch it. Stay with the outside. Use your scissors or whatsoever to push it to make it. Then you go to the other side. You join it together too. This band, me, I don't use to cut it, so I always make sure 1 inch is there, because sometimes the waist may tight and they will now say they should try to remove the band and put another one. So there's no need of putting another one. The allowance is there. What you are going to do is just to adjust this for the two sides for the shaping. Then the you just adjust it, shift it back. Then this allowance will be okay. This allowance will be okay for whatever you want to do. So instead of cutting it, just push it inside. It's not much. This 1 inch should be there. Then now turn and start sewing. Half inches, I've said this, half inches sewing for the other side, the inner one, then half inches too outside. What I'm saying now is outside. There are some skirts you can put elastic at the side. But this one there is no elastic. If you want to put elastic, you can still put elastic at the two sides. And the skirt is ready. To overlap like this. One will be there, the one that has 2 faces will be there, then the one that has 3 faces will be here. Then it will now lap like this. So here's the skirts slope down. So now we are going to sew skirts straight, and that's a pencil skirt. I'm going to sew pencil skirts now. Okay, now we are going to sew straight skirts with overlapping at the down. So where I roll the chalk, you sew that place down. Then you take your darts. As usual, you take your darts. With that, as I do say, should be 4 or 5 inches for the darts. Make sure your dart is sharp. Now I'm going to join the two together and shape it. As I sewed the other one, if you want to shape, you are going to shape it at the back of the material. That's the skirt place. That's where you are going to shape it. You open the side of the zip. Take the measurement. I've changed the measurement of this one now. It's 28. Then the hips points is 9. That's where the hip is, 9. Measure it, the hip point is 9. This is waist, now this is the hips. The hips now is 38. Then the dart, the downside, you need to shape it as pencil skirt. Just make it 9. Now shape. Give you your normal shape. Start shaping. You sew. You make sure that the cuff of the hips is out. That hip cuff must be out. This is the pencil skirts. Now we are going to put the zip. After putting the zip, then we now put the band. When you want to put your zip, you open the zip and you put it at the edge of your material. At the edge of your material. And your sewing has to be neat. When you are about to finish the first side, you raise the needle up, you shift the zip, you close it, you raise the needle down so that it will hold. Then you now bring the tension down. Now sew it again. Before you now turn your hand, you raise the tension back up, and you now turn. And so, and this place you have to be very careful because of the iron that is there, so that it will not break the needle. Then use it up again. Then use the other side to cover it. I have to cover. When you are about to finish the second side too, you let the needle be down. Then you now raise the shoe up, tension up, and the zip, you lose it back again. Then you finish your sewing, bring it down again. Finish sewing the skirt, the zip. I fix the zip. Now this is the straight skirt. Now we are putting the band. You cut your gum stain the way I do it. If there is no light, you attach it. You attach it and you sew it. Now I want to fix the band the way I did the other one. You are going to put it from the back of this material. Then the side that doesn't have gum stain, you fix it like this, so that when you turn it, the gum stain will come outside. You push just small outside, because you are going to overlap the band. as I said, this one you are going to join it together like this. The two you join together, you sew it. There must be space because this one is going inside while this one is going to lap, so there must be space. The way we are going to sew this is different from the way we sew the other side. Now push it forward. Then the other side, as I said, that you are going to sew it. Then you make sure there is excess inside. You may need to adjust the band, so there is no need of joining. You just lose it and push this one out. So make sure at least a little inside doesn't disturb. Now just turn it. You push it. Now I've told you that when you cut your 2 inches or 2.5 inches, half inches is going up like this, then half inches, I've already sewed out of half inches. Now half inches is going to cover it again. Then the remaining, that 1/4 is okay like this. Bending it the half inches, bending the half inches inside. This is how it be. I've said it that the down one is going to overlap. When the zip is down like this, the down one, this one will be down. So you have to bring the excess out. This one doesn't have excess, but this one has to be excess because it's going to be down. Then this one is going to cover it. Then the hook that has two holes will stand here. The one that has 3 holes will stand here. It's going to stand like this and hook the. This is the straight skirt. Now we want to overlap the down. So when you want to overlap the down, once you overlap the down, now you cut. You first of all sew this place, and you are the one that knows where you want the skirt to overlap. Okay. Skirts normally overlap like this. It's lapping like this. Then you now open it like this and cut. You are going to cut. You cut. When you cut, you will see that it will open like this. It will open like this. So this is the lapping. Then you will now sew this. You will now sew this that you lap. Now sew it. After sewing it, then you loose. When you now lose it, you see that is now lap. This one now is down while the lapping covered. And some skirts, they want the two sides to open. If you want the two sides to open, you will not sew it this side like this. You just join it, then you open the two sides like this. This one will go like this, this one will go like this. But this one now is overlapping. So the down is like this, then this one cover it. This is the straight skirt, and the cuff of these hips is out. Then the down is pencil. So that's all we have about our sewing today.